Now I'm going to move forward to after college. And after college, I actually had my first visitation, one might say, of opening to other people's past lives. Because right after I finished college, I actually went out on a blind date. And when I was on this blind date, I was just being playful with this young woman, because I was, of course, at that point, a fairly young man. And I said, "Oh, I know who you are. You were a witch. And we tried to save you because people were trying to get you. And we hid you in this place that was behind a very large fireplace. And we thought that no one would know, but someone saw us do that one day, and they came and found you and dragged you out, and we tried to stop them, but we couldn't do it." And I was just saying this playfully because I was playful. And this woman turned white as a sheet, and she just said, "You just told me the repeating dream that I had my whole childhood that has always freaked me out." So that was a kind of interesting thing. And my first introduction to other people's other lifetimes, of which I've had my own other lifetimes a lot, but I had sort of seeing that you could really attune to other people's vibrations and tune into things that you couldn't possibly rationally know. And of course, I've learned since then that one doesn't necessarily just blurt out these things playfully, because it may not be the best thing to do. Anyway, then I went off to graduate school, and I went to graduate school and I got a doctorate in clinical psychology, and it was a very clinically oriented program and wonderful. But at some point or other, I was there studying testing, which I knew I would never do. And I was sort of having a crisis of faith. And I was saying to myself, why am I studying this stuff? At which point I had this very powerful vision, sort of like a Frost poem of two roads. And I had the sense that one road would be sort of the cutting edge of traditional psychology, and the other road was going to be way off the edge. And I didn't exactly know what that meant at the time, because I was studying very traditional stuff, and I was a little bit thinking this other stuff is kind of a little woo-woo. But I had a strong sense as I was having this vision that somehow I was going to be exploring things that were quite a bit off the edge of anything that I've been studying right now. And that gave me some sense of hope for the future, even though I didn't know what I was thinking about. So then, of course, I graduated and I got my doctorate, and I was in Philadelphia, and I moved back to Boston. And I learned about the Enneagram, which is the other framework that we teach here at Life Centered Therapy, because we think that it is the very most simple, powerful framework for understanding people from the inside out and for assisting them on their journey through the personality to who their essential selves are. So we've been studying this, but I learned about it in 1990, actually, and I started studying it then. And I had a teacher, and she was doing sessions after the workshops. So I went to one of the sessions, and the day before I'd seen this, I went to the session, I went to Dances with Wolves, and I realized the thing I wanted to talk to her about was destiny. And the thing I thought about Dances with Wolves was there was this man, and he wasn't living his true destiny. And then he was willing to die because he wasn't living his destiny. And he didn't die. And when he didn't die, he had to discover who he truly was and what his true destiny was. So I said that to this woman, who was the person who was leading the training and I was doing the session with. And I said, "I've come here to talk about my destiny." And I did that a little while. And then I said, "Now I'm going to tell you about your destiny." Now, of course, I didn't know this woman very well. And I started saying, "I think I have a sense of what the whole pattern of your life has been." And I started to tell her about what I considered her life and where her life was going, and how she would be someone who I would be in some kind of relationship with, because in some way our destinies were entwined, because I had a vision of something like that. And when I got done, she stopped me and she said, "How did you know all this?" And I said, "I have no idea. It was just sort of like the other experience I had with a woman who I said, 'This is your past life.' And I was just saying whatever came to me." And she said, "I have access," because she did, to some of the most famous psychics and mediums in the country. And she said, "I've never had a reading like this. how could you do it? And I just said, I don't know. I just told you what came to me. And that experience was like a window opening. And after that, I had a number of what were really, for me, unusual experiences that were psychic experiences and clairvoyant experiences. And they ended with an experience that was truly life-changing for me, which I will share with you in the next session of my spiritual autobiography.